In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to use GIMP to create this image of an insect that you see here. So let's start by creating a new project. So I'll go to the File menu, select New, and I'm going to make this 2000 pixels by 1500 pixels. And my canvas size is larger than this work area, so I'm going to rescale the zoom. So I can go up to View, Zoom, and then select Fit Image in Window. Now the first part of the insect that we're going to make are the eyes. So go down here and create a new layer using this button right here, and then make this layer 500 pixels by 500. And make sure that the layer fill type is set to transparency. And then click on the ellipse select tool right here. And then starting in the top left-hand corner, draw a selection for a circle. And we're going to fill this circle in with a gradient. So you can select the blend tool right here. And the gradient should be set to FG to BG, which is foreground to background. And change the shape to radial. And we want the background color to be black. So you can press this double arrow right here to swap these colors to move black to the background. And we want the foreground to be red. So click on this square right here and choose a red color. And then position the mouse up towards the top left side of this circle. Press and hold the mouse button while you drag down to the bottom right. And that will apply our gradient. And then next, go to the Filters menu and select Distorts and then Mosaic. And then here we need to change some of these default values. The tiling primitives needs to be set to hexagons, so we'll leave that. And the tiling size is set to 15, which is good also. But we need to change the tile height to 10. And then change the tile neatness all the way to its maximum value of 1. And then change the color variation to its minimum value of 0. And then anti-aliasing should have a check mark, but these next three values should be unchecked. And then check this final value, which is FGBG lighting. And this means foreground background lighting, so it's going to use these two colors that we have selected right here. And then press OK. And I'll zoom in so that we can see this better. And this looks pretty flat right now, so we're going to use the eye warp filter to give it some depth. So go to the Filters menu, select Distorts and Eye Warp, and change the Deform mode to Grow, and set the Deform radius to about 175, and then change the Deform amount all the way to its maximum value. And then if I click on the middle, you can see that it made the center section grow. And so I want to click on it 2 more times, so a total of 3 times, and then press OK. And you can see that this has given it the appearance of depth. And now duplicate this layer by clicking on the Duplicate button right here, and then move the duplicate to the right. So we can do that by selecting the Move tool, and then just pull this over until the two edges are even with each other. And that looks good. And I'll zoom out here so I can see this better. And then we want to put both of these on the same layer. So right click on the top image and select Merge Down. And you can see that we still have our selection surrounding this left eye. So we can get rid of that by going to the Select menu and select None. And now we want to center these in the middle of our canvas. And we can do that by selecting the Alignment tool and then change this value here to Image. And then click on one of these eyes, and then press this button right here to center this horizontally, and then press this button right here to center this vertically. And then next we're going to start making some of the head. So create a new layer by pressing this button right here, and this layer can be the full size of 2000 by 1500 pixels. And again, make sure that we have a layer fill type of transparency. And we're going to be using some guidelines to help us draw this next part. So make sure that those are enabled by going up to the View menu and make sure that Show Guides has a check mark. And then you can just go up to the top where this ruler section is, put your mouse in the ruler section, press and hold the mouse button, and then when you drag down, you can drag down a guideline. And we'll put this one about right here, and then pull down another one, and put it right there, and then pull down another one and put this just a little ways from the bottom. Then we can also pull a guideline off of the left side. So go over here, press and hold the mouse button, and then we're going to drag this one until it's a little bit to the left of the center, and then pull another guideline over here, and this one should be a little bit to the right side of the center. And then next, select the Paths tool, and then go to approximately the center of this left eye, and then go up to this first line here, click and release the mouse button, and then come down to this bottom line where it intersects the eye, and click on that one time, and then go to where these two lines here intersect, and click, and then go to where these two lines intersect, and click again, and then again where this eye intersects the bottom line, click, and then go up here to about the center of the right eye, and this line up here at the top, and click, and then go to the approximate center of this node and this line, which is right here, then go up to the top line and click, and then find that same spot on the left side, and then click, and then to finish this, all we need to do is press the Enter key on the keyboard. And then next, go up to this line right here that's selected, and press and hold the mouse button and drag down until you get to about right there. And then go to this bottom section right here, click on that and hold the mouse button down and drag this up a little bit. That looks good. And then press the Enter key on the keyboard to lock in this new selection. And now we're going to fill this in with a white color, so you can select the Bucket Fill tool. And then if you press this little black and white button right here, it'll set these to our default colors. And then press this double arrow button, and that will flip these two. And now we have our white on the top, which is our foreground color. So then we can just click inside the selected area. And then next we want to reduce the size of this whole selection. So go to the Select menu and select Shrink, and we're going to shrink this by 5 pixels. So set that to 5 and then click OK. And then we're going to fill this in with a black color, and then press on this double arrow button to switch the foreground and background, and then click on this center area. And now you can turn off the selection by going to the Select menu and select None. And now let's move these guidelines out of the way, and we can do that by selecting the Move tool, and then just click on these lines and then drag them off of the display. And this black area right here now has a white border around the outside of it, but we can't see it on the top and the bottom because we have a white background. So let's go ahead and fill in some color for our background so that we can see this outline. So select the background layer, then click this double arrow so we can flip these two colors. We want the white to be on the foreground, and then for the background, choose a light blue color. And then select the Blend tool by clicking this button right here. And then make sure that we have the shape of this gradient set to linear. And then go up to the top of this background section, press and hold the left mouse button, and drag down just a little bit to about right there, and release the button, and that will apply our gradient. And now when we zoom in, we can see the white border around here. And then next we're going to cut out a section right here and then also right here. So select the eraser tool, which is this button. Set the brush to a hard brush, and then set the size to 800 pixels. And then we want to position this so that we can cut it out right where this eye right here intersects this black and white background area, and also where the bottom of the eye intersects this black and white area here. So first make sure that you have the top layer selected, and then position the eraser until it's about right here, and then just click once. And then do the same on the other side. So I'll position it about right there, and then click. And now we want to make this look like that there's tiny hairs around the edge of this. So select the smudge tool, which is this button right here. And then for the brush, select bristles number 2. And then set the size of this brush to 50 pixels. And then I'll just go up to this edge here, and I'll press and hold the mouse button, and then I'll drag out, and then I'll release the mouse button. And then I'll just repeat that all around this edge here. And when I do that, it makes it look like there's little hairs that are visible around the edge. And you don't want to do it around the eyes here. So then just skip clear down here to the bottom and finish it on the bottom side. And that looks good. And then next we're going to add some more tiny hairs around the center section of this. So for this, change the foreground color to a brown color. And then select the airbrush tool, which is this button right here. And then just press and hold the mouse button while you drag this down. I'm just going to follow kind of the contour of this eye on the left side until I get to about right there. And then I'll go over to the right and I'll follow the contour back up here. And then I'll just fill in some of this area around here. And you don't want to fill it in completely. And then I'll do the same thing down here, and I'll just fill in a little area right here. Again, don't fill it in completely because you want these streaks to be left. And then select a white color for the foreground color here. And then just add a little bit of white along here. And then go back to the smudge tool. And then just start working with this a little bit. And smear this out so that it looks like little hairs around the edge of this also. And this blends in the two colors of hair of white and brown, so it makes it look a little better. And then you can do the center too. And then I'll do the same with this bottom section here. And this bottom section is just brown and black. I didn't add any white to it. And that looks good. And now let's zoom in on this area a little bit better. And we can use a guideline again. So pull one off of the top and bring it down to about there. And then select the Paths tool. Then click and release the mouse button about right here. And then come down to this guideline and click. And then go up to about right here and click. And then click the Enter key to select this. And now with this selected, put your cursor on this left line, press and hold the mouse button, and then just drag this over here to the side. And then release the mouse button, and then do the same thing to this right hand line, and pull it off to the side. And we're just bending these two lines. And then press the Enter key on the keyboard to lock it in place. And then we're going to fill in this selection with black. So you can click this little black and white box here to set default colors. And then select the Bucket Fill tool. And then make sure that the Fill Hole selection is selected. And then click on the inside of this selected area. And then next we want to shrink down this selection a little bit. So go to the Select menu, select Shrink, and set this to a value of 2. And then press OK. And then this new smaller selection area, we're going to add a gradient to it. So click on the blend tool, and we can just use these colors that we have right here. Then just press and hold the mouse button, and then just drag this over to add the gradient. And then we'll repeat this on the right side. And then next we'll add the left antenna here. So select the Paths tool again. And then starting about right here, click for the first node. And then click about here for the second node. And then out here for the next one. And then just click in these 6 spots right here to outline this antenna. And then press the Enter key on the keyboard. And then here I'm going to drag down this bottom line right here a little bit. And I'll also drag down the top one. And this line, I'll drag it a little bit over to the right and up. And then I'll drag this one over too. And that looks good. And then press Enter on the keyboard to lock this in place. And then we're going to fill this in with a black color. So click on the Bucket Fill tool. Make sure that the foreground is set to black. And then click inside the selected area. And then reduce this selection by 5 pixels. So go to the Select menu and select Shrink, and then set this to 5. Press OK. And for this, we're going to add another layer. So press on the Create New Layer button. And you can keep the default width and height and make sure it's set to transparency and press OK. And then select the Blend tool. And then apply a gradient to this. And then for this layer, change the mode from normal to dissolve, and then set the opacity to about 50%. And then we can remove the selection here. And then we can combine this new layer that we just made with the one below it. So you just need to right-click on the top layer and select Merge Down. And so then we're going to do the same thing over here on the right side. And now we're ready to make the wings. So create a new layer with this button. And we'll use guidelines again. So select the Move tool and position this guideline up about right here. And then pull down another guideline until you get to about right here. And then pull down one more guideline and position it about right here. And then select the Paths tool. We're going to start here, so click. And then come up to this top guideline just a little bit from the left side of our image and click. And then go down to the second guideline. And then come over here to where you're close to the first point and click. And then hit Enter on the keyboard. And then we're going to bend these lines. So grab this top line and pull it up. And then pull over to the left side and down on this left one. And then we have these 2 handles that stick out here. And so to get a smooth corner, you want to line this handle up with this handle. So if I click on this little square to select the handle, I'll just reposition this handle till I have a straight line between the 2 handles. And then pull this bottom one down. And we'll do the same thing here. Make sure that this handle lines up with this one right here. So pull this one over to the left. And then you can grab its handle. And then here I have this handle that's in line with this handle. So then press the Enter key. And we're going to fill in this wing with a gradient. So here we want to flip the foreground and background colors. And so we'll click on this double arrow. And then click on the Blend tool. And make sure that it's still set to foreground to background. And it's a linear gradient. And then we'll just start at the top. And we'll pull down this gradient until we get to this bottom guideline. And now we'll make the right side wing. And next we're going to add some real thin veins to the inside of these wings. So select the Paintbrush tool, select a hard brush, and then set the size to just 2 pixels. And then starting down here, just draw a little line that's kind of jagged. And then you can add some extra lines also. And then do the same thing on the right side. And we can go ahead and get rid of these guidelines too. So click on the Move tool and then just drag these off the display. And now we want to create a second set of smaller wings. So all we need to do is duplicate this layer that has the wings and shrink down the new layer. So press the duplicate button right here and then select the Scale tool by pressing this button and then just click on the middle of the image. And this will give you some handles that you can use. So just click on this top handle right here and pull this down, and then you can pull the bottom handle up and then do the same with the left and right sides. Just drag those in. And then if you click on this very center, you can move this whole selection. And so I'm going to pull this down to about right here. And then press the Scale button. And now we have two layers that have wings on them. So I'm going to combine these two layers. So I'll go to the top layer, right click, and select Merge Down. And I also want to put these wings behind the eyes and the head section here. So I can do that by pressing on this down green arrow. And I'll click it until it's below the eyes, but it's above the background. Since these wings are behind the eyes and the head, I want them to look a little bit blurry so that it appears that it was just a little out of focus. And so I can do that by making sure that I have this layer selected that has the wings, and then go to the Filters menu and select Blur and Gaussian Blur. And then set both the horizontal and the vertical values to 20 pixels. And then press OK. And next we're going to create the body. So create a new layer with this button. And then click on the Ellipse Select tool, which is this button right here. And starting at about right here, we'll drag this down and create an ellipse that's about this size. And then we'll fill this in with a white color. So select the Bucket Fill tool. Make sure the foreground is set to white. And then click in the selection area. And this layer is underneath the eyes and the head, so only this section is exposed. And then we're going to shrink the selection area. So go to the Select menu, click on Shrink, and we'll shrink this down by 5 pixels. And then swap these two colors so we can fill this in with black. And then click in the selection area. And then choose the Airbrush tool and set the foreground color to brown. And then we need to go back to our paintbrush that's the Bristles No. 2 paintbrush. And then set our paintbrush size to 50 pixels. And then we'll just brush in some brown color around here. And then select the Smudge tool. And then turn off the selection. And then you can start dragging this brush in an outward direction to give the appearance of little hairs around here. And then you can do the same on this center section that has all the brown. And that looks good. And then we want to blur this layer just a little bit too. So go up to the Filters menu, and since we just used the Gaussian blur for filters, we should see it right here, and so we can just click on Reshow Gaussian Blur. And this time we want to set the horizontal and vertical values to 10. And then press OK. And now we're going to add a green branch which goes across the bottom here. So for this I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And I'll select the Free Select tool, which looks like a lasso here. And then I'll just click and release the mouse button right here. and then drag this over to about this spot. Click, come down, click over here, click one more time. And then for this tool, you need to go to the very start point and click on that again, and that'll complete the selection. And then select the background layer, which is the bottom layer, and then select the blend tool. And this time, for the blend type, click on this and go down until you find greens, which is right here. And make sure that the shape is set to linear, and then just draw a gradient across the selected area. And then we can turn off the selection. And then next go to the layer that has this body section, which should be the middle layer. And then we're going to add some legs. So to do this, click on this button right here to get back to our default colors. Then select the paint tool, and for the brush, select a soft brush. And I use the hardness 050 brush. And then the size should be set to 50. And then here, to get straight lines, just press and then release the mouse button. And then after releasing the mouse button, press the Shift key on the keyboard. And now when you drag your mouse over, you'll see a straight line here. And then just keep holding the Shift key, and then click on the mouse button, and that'll make a second point. And then drag to another point, click on the mouse button again, and again I'm still holding the Shift key. And then I'll pull this off to one more point, click the mouse button, and then I can release the Shift key. And then I'll just repeat this process to draw the rest of the legs. And the last thing that we're going to do is to add some shine to these eyes. So start by creating a new layer by clicking this button right here. And this time we want to set the size to 200 pixels by 200. And then press OK. And our new layer is up here in the top left. And we want to apply a radial gradient to this. So select the blend tool. And we want the foreground to be white. So we'll just click this button to swap these two. And then for the gradient type, click on this button. And we need to go up here and select foreground to transparent. And then for the shape, select radial. And then select the ellipse select tool and draw a circle that fills this area. And then go back to the blend tool, and all of these settings should be still set up for us. Then starting in the top left section of this, just click and hold the mouse button and then drag down till you get to about here. And it's hard to see this gradient since it's against this white background, but it is there. And so then next we need to move this layer to the top. And so press this up green arrow. And then we'll move this on top of the left eye. So select the Move tool. And then position this about right here. And then duplicate this layer using the duplicate button right here. And then move this duplicate over to the right eye. And then we can merge these top two layers together. So right click on the top layer and select Merge Down. And now both of these shiny spots are on the same layer. So now go up to the layer mode and change it from normal to grain merge. And now it looks like these two eyes have a shine. And I'll zoom this back in by going to the View menu, select Zoom, and Fit Image in Window. Now I can turn this last selection off to get rid of this circle right here. And when you're happy with your final picture, you can go up to the Image menu and select Flatten Image. And that will combine all of the layers together. And here is our finished image of our insect. Well, that concludes this video. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe and leave a comment.